We working.
Yeah, it's playing
You done
clear
got
now.
infected by my internet.
Hey, what is
It's good
going
now.
on, people? What is going on? How you all doing today? Hope that you all are having a good one today. Looks like I'm doing a little buffering a little bit. Man, I've already been infected by that turf internet. Man, I tell you. Come on, internet, baby. Let's speed this thing up a little bit. But how you all doing today? Y'all know who I am. I'm Polo with Polo Fields Line Service. Welcome to this live stream where we're going to have a very, very, very special guest. What's going on, Grace? Grace, how you doing? Chips and Guac, nice to see you, bruh. On the line training. My brother, glad to see you, man. Hey, on the line, I got something for you. I got a little friend sitting right over there. Yes, sir. Turf cheated. Hashtag turf cheated. Yeah, he gonna be sitting with me tonight. He gonna be sitting with me the whole entire night. We gonna have a good time, and he's just gonna sit back and he's just gonna watch, you know. So y'all speak to him every now and then. Speak to him every now and then. What's going on, Vito? Glad to see you, my brother. Glad that you here. Hope that you not in the air. Hope that you on ground, my brother, watching this live, man. Thanks for being here. Shout out to everybody that showed up. Who else we got in here? We got Vito. We got Miss Tucker. How you doing, Miss Tucker? Lush, how you doing, my brother? How are you doing? Hey, I thank everybody for showing up. Who is this? Matrix? Matrix, what's going on, Matrix? Aldo coming in strong. Hashtag turf cheated. I see you, Aldo, baby. What's going on, Izzy? Hey, I thank everybody for tuning in. Look at it. Look at it. Everybody is just participating. J Pink. Hashtag turf cheated. Look at it, man. Hey, turf, I ain't even. We supposed to be better than that, Aldo. Hey, man, y'all know what's up, man. I thank you all for tuning in. I'm going to go ahead and bring on the We Working team and bring them on in here because I know that's what you all are here to see. We Working team. How y'all doing? How are you all doing?
What's up?
What's good?
What's happening? What's happening? Hey, look, Aldo, we supposed to be better than that. We supposed to be better than that. I'm just saying, man. We supposed to be. I expected that from on the lawn training, not you. Not you. Not you. It's all good though. It's all good. We're gonna see. We're gonna see this spring. Well, not this spring. We're gonna see midsummer when you burnt up. I'm gonna be over here glowing green. Don't you worry about it.
It don't matter. Hashtag turf cheated. We gonna move on for that one. Everybody done agreed to it. We just gonna move on. And let's go ahead and keep this show moving.
Hey man, I'm telling you, man, we gonna be making some T-shirts. And everybody gonna be like, "What is hashtag turf cheated?" On the line training gonna start that. He gonna start that up, man.
What's up, Lushy? Lushy, he said best intro in the biz. Hey, Polo did that, didn't he? He did it all by himself too.
I try to do my best, Lush. I try to do my best. What's going on, PJ? How you doing over there?
Doing good, man. Hanging in there.
That's what's up, man. Hey, man, did everybody have a good Thanksgiving?
Excellent.
PJ,
good time.
Yeah.
What you eat, PJ?
Man, y'all saw them ribs. Y'all saw them ribs I threw down. Hey, man.
Yeah, we seen it.
Them was hands down.
We seen
slabs and stripes. That's how my Thanksgiving went down. Slabs and stripes.
Slabs and stripes. I like it. Turf, what you have for Thanksgiving, my brother?
I had a porterhouse steak with some Brussels sprouts, potatoes. There was other types of fixings. I ate good. We ate good.
Now, was a steak cooked medium?
Part of it was. See, my wife right now, she only eating well done steak. So I had to pull it, cut it, finish it. Yeah, finish it all. So.
Just as long as you know.
I like the porterhouse because you get 2 cuts in one.
Yes,
you know?
yes. That's my favorite. That's my favorite steak, porterhouse. That's my favorite steak.
Yeah.
Just as long as you know that medium is the best way to eat it.
Oh yeah, I know that. Medium is where it's at. Medium or medium rare. You know, I can do medium rare.
I can't do medium rare. I can do medium. I can't do medium.
It depends.
Rare.
It depends.
I can't do medium rare. PJ, what you have for Thanksgiving?
Kevin Shepard said medium rare is best.
What you have for Thanksgiving, PJ?
It was all vegan, Polo. All vegan. I had some vegan meatloaf, some vegan collards, some mashed potatoes. It was good. Good time.
You and your vegan family.
You're like,
Jesus. It just make me want to just sit up there and just pull up to your house and just throw a steak on your door and take off running. Drop you off a steak.
Somebody in the house will eat that steak. It just won't be me.
Ain't nothing wrong with that, man. Well, I had all the fixings, all the trimmings, man, and chicken, baked chicken, fried chicken, seasoned chicken, cam. We had a little bit of everything going on over here, and we had a good time, man. We had a good time. So thank you all for coming here. This is the We Working team. If you all don't already know, y'all know who the team is: Turf, Cam, PJ, and we here, man. We here, and we have a special guest. But before we get to the special guest, just want to let you all know the last live that we had was over at PJ's channel. That live, we had some strong supporters there. We had Vito up in the air, the man that flies, the man, what they call that man on Narcos, the Lord of the skies. We had Vito. We had Miss CR. CR, thank you for showing up. I see you there, baby. We had CR. Who else did we have? We had James, the Line Junkie. We had B. Davis. And we had Scott. We had a lot of strong supporters that came, and we really had a great time with them. We thank them for showing us the support. Thank them for showing us the love. And we had a really, really, really good time. But before we get into who we're going to bring on, matter of fact, I don't even really have to say too much about Matt, because y'all know Matt. If you don't know him, I call him the mad scientist. Because this man right here, he knows just about everything when it comes to cool season lawns and warm season lawns. Yes, Matt, I'm pumping you up even if you don't want it. I tell you what, man, Matt is a good brother, man. He's been doing it for a long, long time. A lot of people follow him. A lot of people get their knowledge from him. A lot of people get their analysis and their wisdom and everything from this man. So, hey, do anyone else have anything to add before I go ahead and jump into what I need to jump into?
Nah, we're gonna have to pass the offering plate around if you say anything else.
Shots fired. I like it. I like it. Shots fired. Okay. That right there means I need to get it going then, huh? All right, y'all, let's go ahead and get into it, what y'all came here to see, man.
That's awesome. That is on there.
Ladies and gentlemen.
I love it. That was awesome, Polo.
That's
The one, the only.
Look at his face. Look at his face, Polo. Because he had
That was
look at his
good.
face. Look how ready he is.
That was fire.
Look how ready he is. Yeah.
That video was absolutely amazing. And your poor daughter, when you put the camera on her, she's like, first, who is this lunatic on the damn screen? But the production quality of what you put out made up for it. I'm sure she was impressed at least with that, regardless of the ridiculous stuff I was doing in front of camera.
Dude,
Yes.
that right there,
That is
man.
crazy.
Let me tell you something. She's going to have a bright future, you know, because of what she was watching. She was watching some really good information. She's going to have a bright future. So my wife watched it and she was like, wait a minute. What is she doing? Is she actually? I said, yes, baby. She was watching it. Not only was she just sitting there, she was watching. I said, she could tell you a little thing or two what he was talking about, but
Yo,
how are you doing, sir? How are you doing, sir?
I'm good. Thank y'all so much for having me. I really appreciate it. And this is when I saw the email come through, I was like, all right, it's go time. Let's do the damn thing. So I'm just honored to be here. Thank you, seriously.
Good. So Matt, for the people that do not know you, sir, can you give us a little background on your history as far as like with you being doing in manufacturing, with you going to school, where you're from? Just give them just a little bit of history for the ones that don't know anything about you.
Yeah, so I'm from North Mississippi, but really I was raised in Memphis. So Memphis is, when I think of home, I think of Memphis, right? And so went to high school there, and I can tell you at the time I had no interest in turf grass whatsoever. I did like playing golf though, so I played a significant amount of golf, and but basketball was always kind of my sport. I'm tall, but I learned pretty quickly that I didn't have anywhere near the amount of athleticism to play, beyond high school, and so I thought, because my dad is an engineer, that I would, through osmosis, be an engineer as well. And went to University of Tennessee and learned really quickly that I did not have what it takes to be an engineer either. And so, trying to figure out how I can get out of school as quickly as possible. I actually kind of settled into turf grass, right? And it wasn't necessarily then that I fell in love with it. For me, it was just kind of a means to the end to get out. But I did, and then I started working on a golf course in the midst of all this. My later time, and that was where I started to kind of catch a bug. It was my baby, and everything from running bulldozers to shape tee boxes to digging and excavating to install greens, running every piece of irrigation pipe on the place, miles and miles and miles of irrigation pipe, and building lake pumps in order to irrigate and all that fun stuff. Like it was starting to become a thing. But 2008 2009 happened, and I have a common theme in my life where I lose investors. And at the time, at the golf course I was at, we lost the investor there, and kind of abandoned the project not long after it opened, and was playable. So I went back to Memphis, and I did like any other person would do, and I went to work at True Green. And it was really at True Green and the fast pace of residential lawn care, the hustle of residential lawn care, it set a fire in me. And it was amazing to me to watch guys who had zero experience in turf whatsoever know leaps and bounds beyond what I did about growing grass. And here I'd been doing it for 3 years at that point, and through a college education as well. And these guys just knew so much more than I did, and it freaked me out. I was like, what have I been doing with my life? And how am I going to be able to compete in the workplace now when I've got education, but their education is beyond what mine is, right? And that kind of drove on a certain amount of obsession in my life, I guess. Obsession is the right word there. Mm-hmm. Because I thought, like, if I was ever going to become promoted at work, not only did I have to produce results, but I had to be knowledgeable. I had to be coachable, and so I kind of started down that wormhole of trying to become all those things. And it was interesting. I got recruited to go work for another company. This is a long story short, but got recruited to work for another company out of Little Rock, Arkansas, that had a branch in Memphis, and got to do some really cool things with them as far as expanding into new areas, going to get to work and train in areas outside of Memphis too, and then take some of the things I learned working on the road and apply them to areas that we wanted to move into. Like specifically when I was in Memphis, we wanted to do a big push into North Mississippi, and so we got to execute some of those things we learned about in training. And then with that, I got promoted and was able to open my own branch in Augusta, Georgia. And it was a race in that kind of corporate lawn care. It was always a race to $1 million, right? You had to get your branch to $1 million, and as soon as you hit $1 million, the bank would release the money for you to open another location. Mm-hmm. And so when we stepped foot in Augusta, it was absolute gangbusters, right? And there was no, we're going to try. It was 100% from day one, we're going to hit $1 million in 1 year. And it was, and that's what we did. And, we worked, 14, 16 hours a day, 18 hours a day during spring and sales season and all that fun stuff, and knocking on doors and kissing babies and, doing whatever you got to do to get the deal done. And it was really then that, like, I came to realize that there was nothing else that I would ever want to do in my life. And decided to open my own business, being a fert and squirt guy. And it was there that I realized that under no circumstances whatsoever did I need to be a business owner. I was a much better employee than I was a business owner. I'm a team guy. I'm not an I guy. And I have to have a supporting cast around me in order to be able to do well. the nice thing about working in the corporate lawn care, and at least the company that I work for, and I can't speak highly enough about Fairway Lawns. Robert, one of the guys that trained me, and Stu, my manager at the time, they really pushed a lot of independence out of me and challenged me to try new things and step outside of my comfort zone, and taught me how to talk to customers. Beforehand, and Polo, you could probably identify with this, is that, a lot of times when you first start out and a customer says to you, hey, we think you killed our yard, or, why did you apply the wrong thing and you killed the spot in my yard? When I first started out, I'd be like, yeah, you're right. I probably did that. Let me fix it. This is what I'm going to do to fix it. Right. And it was at Fairway Lawns, they taught me to take a step back, not make an emotional decision out of it, and say, it's potentially something I did, but it's also potentially not something I did. Let's go through a series of diagnostics to figure out what actually happened, and then we can pinpoint responsibility where responsibility lies. And for me, that was a big growing part, and I was at least able to take that piece of it into opening my own business, and and it afforded me to try new things, try new products, take a risk on new products, take a new risk on herbicide concentrations, on fungicide combinations, and just be different. Try and how do we grow at the rate True Green does, but offer a service that is so much more desirable than True Green, right? And it was through so much of that there was nothing in the market that I really felt good about as an applicator running. I could find, I had to settle a lot. I'll put it this way, right? Like, I'd go to my distributor, I would ask for something, they couldn't do that something, and so they would be like, this is about as close as I could get, and I'd settle for that, right? I mean, like, that's good enough. But I always had this idea of what I wanted out of a product. And so, that was where I met, my business partner now, John Borden. And, he's the kind of guy that if anybody has an idea, he just figures out a way how to build it. Right. And that was, on a bar on a napkin on a October rainy day. We were sitting down, and, I told him what I wanted out of a product, and he told me he was going to build this product. And, fast forward a year later, and, the concept of Carbon Earth was born, right? And at the time we actually called it Elemix. And that was, we were trying to raise money under the name Elemix. And eventually, we did broker a deal with a group out of Singapore, and, we built a business, and it did real well, and then it went away. And so since then, it's, been, picking up the pieces and all that fun stuff, and trying to figure out, now that we have an opportunity to do round two, how do we do it differently? What were the pitfalls we had? What were the successes we had, and how do we learn from it, bring it all together into something brand new? So it's kind of, I've been talking a lot, but that's my whole history.
Matt's the open book. There you go.
That.
You got it all from start to finish.
You got it all.
Yeah.
One full swing.
I'm a Virgo.
Like
I'm 35 years old.
Us Virgos got to stick together.
I'm gonna say RIP to Carbon Earth.
Yeah, rest in peace to Carbon Earth. It was a lot of fun. It almost killed me. But don't get me wrong, I'm 100% glad it's over. As exciting as it was, there was so much behind the scenes and things that we were not mature enough to handle, like having a foreign investor and trying to balance two wildly different cultures. We were too young to be trying to do that, and so now having the opportunity to redo a lot of those things without investors it's much more thrilling, much more exciting, and we're having a lot more fun now.
And that's good. I mean, it's good, when you go through things and then you learn, so this time around it'll be 10 times as better as what it was before. But commenting on what Cam said, I can't say RIP to Carbon Earth yet because
you have a lot of it.
somebody still got some goods, So,
Burn it
Sneaky
all.
green.
Burn it all.
Sneaky green.
yeah, somebody still got
Sneaky
some sneaky
green. Sneaky
green.
green.
Some
Sneaky green.
sneaky green.
Sneaky green.
That's gonna stay around for a long time. Thank you Matt, for that introduction. Turf, my brother, you got something?
Yeah, I got a question. I'm gonna pull up out the chat real quick. I kind of gave my 2 piece on it, but they're not here for my intellect. They're here for yours. Vince, really long code says thoughts on PGRs for Poa annua. And I asked him if he meant Poa annua or Triv, and he said Poa annua, and I was like, specifically Anu is what you're leaning towards. He's like Anu or T-Nex. So he just wants to know what your thoughts are on, I'm assuming, controlling or suppressing Poa annua. Of course, chime in down there in the chat again, Vince from Rooted Long Co. But yeah, that's his question. Hey, Ma.
So,
what's going on, Ma?
It's I want to preface this that as good as you're going to get with a PGR is going to be suppression. Now, there's varying degrees of suppression that you can obtain depending on how aggressive you are with your PGRs, the rates you have, what turf type you're applying it to. All of those kind of play into the overall picture there, but it can be, especially with Anu, offers us a relatively interesting chemistry that doesn't have. It has a little bit longer suppression window as far as how long it keeps the grass in regulation. It doesn't necessarily have just a gigantic compounding effect, right? Like, as you continue to apply T-Nex on top of T-Nex on top of T-Nex, you regulate it, over-regulate it. And at first, when it came to Poa annua control, it was always bordering that line of overregulation in order to suppress the Poa. Right now, with Anu, at just regular rates, we're seeing pretty good suppression out of it. Now, I don't have enough experience with Anu to be able to say 100%. You run it twice at this rate, you're going to suppress it to the point you'll never see it. I don't know what that answer is, but in terms of the active ingredient and the chemistry of that active ingredient, it is up there as one of the safest to achieve a desirable level of suppression for your good grass and your Poa species, right? So, and to put it into perspective, right? Like there's another one that's not labeled for residential turf, paclobutrazol, that is incredibly suppressive, right? And to the point where, in a lot of instances, it gets pretty dang close to actually killing various Poa species. But as you start eking up into those rates, certain grass types are going to be ultra sensitive to it, and they will just shut down, stop growing altogether. They won't grow out. They won't grow up. It's nothing. Like, it is checked out 100% for 4, 5, 6 weeks. And even if you collected your clippings, you'd be lucky over a period of 6 weeks to cut off, a 1/10 of an inch from on the grass. So I feel like a new is a good direction to go. Not 100%. I don't have the experience to say confidently that it's going to suppress it to the point you're not going to see it. But I think it's a good direction to go.
And I can add on to, with the experience, because I ran Anu all this season in the spring. What I saw was Poa Triv hated it. Poa annua wasn't really too bothered by it. And I ran it at max rate, and I ran it 3 times. Triv stopped it in its tracks. So I had to come back behind with Fungicide for the little bit of annua that was out there, annua that was out there. So the Anu didn't do it for me. My region, that cultivar, I had to still come out with Fungicide to make it go bye-bye. For me.
See, I haven't used any Anu yet, so I really can't speak on that. But I just try to regulate what I can regulate without it until I have to sit up there and grab it, or I call Matt and be like, "Hey, Matt, give me some little pointers on this new, my brother." Hey,
I was.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Real quick, I was going to say that what's nice about New Farm is they have their reps, right, and they don't have the responsibility of selling material. Their reps are primarily all support of their products, and I'll put a link in for a Facebook profile for one of the New Farm reps, and this guy's name is Rod Marquardt. Just an absolute amazing guy, and if you do have questions about a new, he is probably one of the most knowledgeable people related to that chemistry in America right now. So that's someone you can reach out to. He's very responsive. He's very open to talking to lots of people. You can reach out to him on Facebook and just have a very honest conversation with him about where it works and where it doesn't work, and he'll be very, very transparent with you.
What's his name again, Matt?
Rod Marquardt. I call him Canada Rod because he's originally from Canada, and I have this infatuation with all things Canadian.
I was going to say he's actually from Canada.
Oh yeah. Lives in Florida now, like most Canadians, but yes, he is. He is an extremely, extremely knowledgeable guy.
Yeah, I think I'm actually gonna be running some anew this year in my backyard, not specifically for the same reason of POA suppression, but I'm just looking as a growth regulator for that spring. Everybody knows my backyard is like heavily shaded, so what I'm gonna try to do is regulate it a little bit, and just like through that spring, try to drive some more roots, try to drive some more maturity through that early season, and then let it come out of regulation before summer and disease pressure hits. But I think that's what I'm gonna try this year in my backyard, just to try to get it to thicken up, a little stronger, toughen up the plant a little bit. What do you think about that, Matt?
Well, there's some good research that shows using PGRs for managing shade-tolerant grass types, increasing the performance of shade-tolerant grass types growing in the shade, right? And the majority of your cool season species, aside from Kentucky bluegrass and some bent grasses, those are not going to be shade-tolerant. But tall fescue and perennial ryegrasses, fine fescue, all these are going to be what would be considered shade-tolerant. So yeah, you have to think about it. What a growth regulator does is it suppresses a hormone within the plant, gibberellic acid, right? Your gibberellins are what causes the plant to grow upward towards light, right? The plant reaches for light. So if you're suppressing that within the plant, it's not growing upward to look for the light. Well, you got to think in a shade situation, there's not a lot available, right? And so a lot of times where it doesn't have the light exposure, it kicks in higher and higher and higher amounts of gibberellic acid to go, try and find it. So by suppressing that, there is it's beyond anecdotal at this point. There's some research to show that applying PGRs to grasses growing in the shade will actually improve the performance of grasses growing in shade.
Yep. Yeah,
So Matt,
I know.
Super TA said.
No, go ahead, Turf.
My bad. Now I was just gonna say, Super TA says, Matt, you are the best, sir. Been following your entire YouTube journey. You are the most genuine person and appropriate you, sir. I think yeah. He appreciates you, sir. Yeah, I'm usually good at figuring out what people mean when that spell check kicks in.
Yeah, autocorrect.
Yeah, that autocorrect. Yeah, that autocorrect when it kicks in.
Thanks, Bill.
Yeah.
I hope you had a great time in Nashville. He just recently took a trip to Nashville, so I hope he burned it down and left his mark on Music Row there.
Spinelli's.
No, that's Louisville. That's lit. Do they got the Spinellis in Nashville too? I might have to go to Nashville.
I don't know. They might. They might.
I don't know. I think
Ray,
I think the Spinellis is only up here, but I mean, if it branches down there, you know, that'd be good.
that Spinelli's needs to be everywhere, man. I'm trying to tell you. Ray chimed in. He says, used properly, anew can redirect energy from reaching towards light and put it into roots. Boom.
Yeah,
Ray
so
killing the
Ray
chat.
and Matt, just a heads up, I'm gonna be coming to y'all when it's time. We're gonna have to get some rates dialed in.
Yeah, Ray has a lot of experience with Anu. You know, that's become part of his PGR protocol as well. And you know, he plays with some other things too, like Cutlass and also combinations. You know, combining multiple active ingredients of PGRs to, you know, really try and extend the duration from a PGR. And you know, it works. That can work to your advantage. You know, well, if as a mowing contractor, right? If you're only having to mow, you know, once a month during peak season. Well, think about, you know, how many lawns, you know, that frees you up to be able to go hit or whatever. Especially if you are pegging it at, you know, 3.5 inches when it looks like it's absolute, you know, phenomenal best too, right? So it's kind of a different management tactic, and you know, a lot of where a lot of purely guys that only mow get locked into thinking is that, well, if it's not growing, I'm not going to get paid. Well, not necessarily. Like, you can still get out there and run stripes over it, right? But what's faster, you know, burning some stripes into a lawn, or having to cut it from 6.5 inches down to 3.5? You know what I mean? And the amount of cleanup and stuff that has to go along with that.
So Matt, what types of things would like let you know that you've used too much? Like if you've overused the Anu or any of the PGRs, like what types of symptoms would you expect to see?
So the most common one is bronzing. You'll hear the phrase used, bronzing. And it's difficult to describe until you see it. I'm not sure if bronzing is the most accurate in terms of the actual phytotoxicity, the color response you see. But it kind of changes, right? So I could tell you that over applied to Bermuda grass, it almost turns the Bermuda. It has an undertone of gray to it. On tall fescue, you're going to see some yellowing, but almost with some spots, some freckling on the leaves that look almost copper in color. And it just, there is an off color that sticks out that doesn't look like any of the other normal off colors you see, right? And it's hard to describe unless you actually see it. I do have a video on warm season grass, on Bermuda grass. You can see where it's overregulated. And I think it was in that video where I flipped my backyard around in like 45 days. I think it was 45 days. I don't remember the title, but that was one where I was playing around by combining paclobutrazole with Trinex pacethyl, and it was not a good thing. I would never recommend anybody do that.
Gotcha.
So I got three from the chat. Oh, I'm sorry.
I was just about to say.
Were you good, PJ?
Yeah, Vito had.
Yeah, I'm good.
You got everything, PJ?
Yeah. I'm looking at what Ray said. He's got some stuff to say about it too.
Yeah, I was going to hit Ray's, Vito's, and Michelle's. I was just going to roll all three of them up there, but you got it.
Go ahead, Turk.
Okay, yeah. So I was going to say, we got three questions. I'm going to just throw them all out there because I think you can address them all relatively pretty quick. So Vito first says, Vito Gassi, our man in the sky, says, will a thick, lush lawn help choke out Polo grasses? And Polo, just letting you know, you can take that and you can pull it down right up underneath us. That way we can see it a lot better.
Boom.
Yeah, just pull it down to the empty space right below us. Boom. There we go.
Boom.
There we go. Yeah. So Vito says, will a thick, lush lawn help choke out Polo grasses? Then the next one from Michelle Hines says, hi, does it matter if you use liquid or granular PGR? And then the next one was Ray saying, if you overregulate high traffic areas, will look worn out. So I thought that was a great tip. But we could start with the top for Vito. And Vito says, will a thick lush lawn help choke out poa grasses?
To an extent, POA A more than anything else, and it's not necessarily going to choke it out, but you can get enough density in place that it will inhibit establishment of POA A. Now with POA Triv, all bets are off. It's a mystery, and I don't know how, but I promise it comes from the depths of hell and reaches up, and it will take a perfectly dense lawn and just show up in it and continue to grow and multiply in it. And it doesn't matter how healthy the turf around it is. It's not going to win. So with POA A, yes. POA Triv, hell no.
The Triv still finds a way. I don't know how.
It's unbelievable. And related to the granular liquid application, this is real simple. So it depends on your active ingredient and how it makes its way into the plant, right? Right now, if you're using Trinexpac ethyl as your active ingredient for a PGR, which is the only one you're going to find in a granular form, I'll explain why that's actually a bad idea. It's not necessarily a bad idea. It's not putting forth your best effort. Trinpac is absorbed foliarly to work its way throughout the plant. So it has to adhere to the leaf in order for it to be taken into the plant. So if you're applying it in as a granular, you are relying on that granular actually adhering to the leaf. Now, the way they manufacture it is they put it onto a very fine particle size with very low bulk density. So it tends to sit on the leaf, which is great, right? But you're still not getting as much efficiency out of the product as you would if you were applying it as a liquid. So, can you apply it as a granular? Yes. Should you apply it as a granular? No. Just because you lose a certain degree of efficiency with it, and you're really just pulling money out of your pocket at that point. With a new, you're only going to see it as a liquid, so you don't have to worry about that.
So To the Roots Turf Care came back with another one, and he says, "Does a new work on shrubs?" I was going to pull it up in case you don't know it off the top of your head, but you said yes.
Yes.
Why would you want to use it on shrubs? Just paint me a picture. Maybe is it easier for managing a property?
Polo, do you trim shrubs?
Are you thinking about a big commercial? What's that?
I've seen that done.
Okay,
Polo, do you like trimming shrubs?
No.
There we go.
There you go. Question answered.
Question answered. There we go. Hey, look, I was thinking, I was like, why would you want to do that? But commercial properties, or even if your customers, right? They got a whole bunch of shrubs.
That's legit. That's what I've seen. I've seen people, or especially lawn care companies, that do maintenance on like long boxwood, like type of shrubs, and they're just like humongous border, like all the way around the property. They want to trim them things once, maybe twice a year, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
So from a commercial management standpoint, a lot of times, like if you have a commercial contract, you're bidding, say, I'm going to bid, and part of my bid is I plan on trimming shrubs 4 times through the course of the year, right? And that's part of your yearly cost and your monthly, bill out level. So if you can get away with only trimming the shrubs twice, well, you're basically profiting, 2 of those trims that you budgeted for that, is part of your contract or whatever. So that's where, you can really, you're spending a little bit of money on PGR, right? But you're making it back, threefold in saved labor because you're not out there having to trim the shrub. So it is probably the most underutilized ornamental tool that's available to commercial site managers or really anybody that manages any other properties, right? If if you want to make some real cost savings and eventually turn it into profit margin, doing things like PGR and shrubs is an awesome business model.
Now a lot of people are about to start spraying their shrubs.
Right. That's going to be a whole new movement. Watch, you
Never
just
heard of that.
created a whole new class of videos next year. Everyone's dropping videos, regulating their bushes.
Right.
Wait until you're going to see it. Kevin Wall says, don't they use PGR on bonsais also? And I always thought bonsais just grew super slow. So why would you want to put, I don't know. You're shaking your head no, so I'm assuming no. Yeah.
I honestly don't know. So really bonsai growth is manipulated by manipulating the root system, right? That's why, you know, every couple of years you go in and you prune the roots really, really aggressively. So, you know, that's how you keep it container bound. And so you're constantly keeping the roots in this state of extreme restriction. Now the plant is still going to go through its regular processes and, you know, go through maturity and all this fun stuff, but you're just as much as you prune the actual vertical growth, the visual part of the growth, you're even more aggressive on what you're pruning with the roots. And it's not as frequent, but you know, it's very intensive. Now, as far as like, you know, fertilizers or any kind of pesticide that gets applied to a bonsai, I have no idea.
Yeah, Ray, he says no PGR on bonsai is done via root pruning. So boom. Yeah.
Miller Time has
I like
a
that
question also. He says, is there application difference for the shrubs versus the grass with the new?
I don't know off the top of my head. I'm sure there is. And, you know, like I always think of Atromech as one of the more popular ones in commercial landscaping. And, you know, that has like rules of application in order to get your best results out of it, right? So like as you are pruning a shrub line is when you make your application to Atromech in order to get your longest residual out of it. I don't know off the top of my head if the same applies to a new or not, but I'm sure the label will have a section dedicated purely to shrubs related to that.
And Lex, we got another one from Johnny Fescue when he says, does the PGR discolor shrubs?
Depending on your active ingredient, it can. A new is probably not. It would really be paclobutrazol would be the one I would be really concerned about. Atromech can on certain shrubs, but you'll notice on the PGR labels, it'll give you a list of tolerant species. I think, and don't hold me to this, and this is something I would ask Rod Marquardt about at New Farm, but I think a new would be the safest chemistry on shrubs in terms of broadest safety towards the largest number of plants.
Nutrient management is also a key part. Yeah, man. Matt, what's going on, man? What are you up to? Like, what could we look forward to in 2022?
Man, I don't know. I'm still recovering from you being in Knoxville, to be honest. So I don't know.
And I got that video coming out next week. It should have been dropped this weekend, but I had to all of my stuff is coming, all my household goods to be here on Monday. So I had to stop, drop, and roll and get this painting knocked out. So I didn't get the video finished, but I'll have it. It'll probably be a midweek release. It's going to be epic. Lawns with attitudes. I got Ray on camera spraying in America. It's epic.
I mean, did we not have an amazing time? We had so much damn fun. It was unbelievable.
Good time, man. And Ray, I got your heavy metal. I got your heavy metal music, and guess what? Polo made it. Polo made a beat. He made a beat just for the video. It's gonna be epic.
It was funny. Robert asked Ray. He was like, "Ray, what kind of music do you like? What kind of music do we need in the background?" And Ray's like, "Oh, I'm totally a hair metal guy." You know, what did Ray say? He's like, "You're not going to believe me if I tell you, but I'm a hair metal guy." So.
Yeah, and I was like, "What? No, you're right. I don't believe you. That makes no sense." But hey, I was like, "Okay." We're gonna do it, man. So
I thought Ray was a jazz guy, you know. No, turns out he's like
I thought he was gonna come
Aerosmith
with
and Bon
like
Jovi.
the Beatles, Bon Jovi. I don't know. I just was not expecting heavy metal. That was the last thing. You know what? I would have taken country music before heavy metal. But my man said heavy metal, so
That's Cam's
we're gonna
space
put some
there.
heavy
We're
metal.
not going to encroach on Cam.
I don't know, man. Maybe if, I don't know, Ray talks about killing something somehow every Thursday. He's got a
You're
little
right.
bit of heavy. He's got a little bit of heavy metal in him.
You're right. You're right. Mr. Lunch Long, what's up, man?
So a little backstory on that. Turf had got in touch with me, and Turf was like, "You got any heavy metal? You got any heavy metal?" I was like, I blamed it on Turf because I had some things to do with my wife, and for I want to say a good 5 solid hours, I was just strictly heavy metal. I mean, I was just in her, had a headache and everything. You know? I sat up her and sit at and Turf was just like, hey man, this is it. So Ray, I hope you enjoy it, my brother. I hope you enjoy it. I like any type of music. Heavy metal was something that I just don't do. But I mean, that definitely was it was a well, I ain't gonna say it was a challenge because you can call the music for the intro for Matt. You can call that heavy metal. So that a little bit.
Yeah, when I saw you bust out the guitar, I was like, "Oh, here we go. We're playing in new spaces here." I did not know that was coming.
I just pick at it. We gonna get Aldo over here. We gonna get Aldo to do a little something.
Shred B.
There you go. Spin Martin says, Matt, I use your 17, 17, 17, your triple 17 on my sample plot of iron cutter, and it did wonders for it.
Oh, that's awesome. So, fun fact: Spin and I may be related. I've got a DNA test pending, and I don't know. We may be. Wouldn't that be wild?
Spin Martin.
And yeah, for those of you that don't know, Spin has been
Great guy.
involved in managing turf in the NFL for a really long time. So it would be an odd full circle if it turned out we were related. It's funny, we were talking, and we've got family from kind of originated from the same area of Missouri. So I don't know. We may unpack some hidden secrets of the Martin family there. That's good, and I'm actually excited about Iron Cutter too. I don't know if y'all are familiar with Iron Cutter. It's a newer cultivar, cold tolerant. Is greening up faster, staying green later through the season. Spin's got some plots of it going. Ryan DeMay up in Columbus, Ohio, he's got plots of it going up there too. And this may be kind of the new improved Tahoma 31, which up to this point Tahoma 31's been kind of the new Bermuda that's being tolerated in northern climates. So is Bermuda still a bad word up north, and I understand it. It's a different look, it's a different growth aesthetic and all that fun stuff. But with some of these new improved varieties like Tahoma 31 and Iron Cutter, the appeal to make that transition over to Bermuda or a Bermuda perennial ryegrass to have year-round color may become a thing, and especially if they're lower input grasses, right? And that now you're getting to utilize a C3 grass type during winter where you've got low light, and then during summer when you've got a lot of light, you can utilize a C4. Now, what's crazy about that is that, like, from an environmental aspect, is that you're really maximizing the amount of carbon capture, of carbon dioxide capture, and storing it back into the ground year over year, right? So there's a very real, measurable, positive environmental impact that goes along with developing a lot of these Bermuda grasses that are tolerant up north and being able to run a C3 and a C4 for each portion of the year. So kind of off out in outer space stuff there, but interesting nonetheless. And it just kind of shows the advancement and the evolution that's taking place in the industry right now to be more cognizant of environmental impact and how can we adapt as managers to make these small changes that may have a bigger overall impact. I think it's cool.
So Matt, that I don't know if like I was sitting over here smiling for a reason because some iron cutter in Maryland in my test plot would be quite interesting.
I think you would end up going Bermuda grass, except for your backyard, and that would be the end of the story, and you'd fall in love with it. I'm just guessing.
And see, the reason I say my test plot is because my neighbor right next to me, like they've got a lot of underlying Bermuda that's already starting to creep back into my renovation already. Like, so that's why I'm like, all right, if y'all already got Bermuda, then I'm gonna just continue to have to fight, even though it's still suppressed pretty good. If I gotta fight it, I might as well plant some Bermuda over there, right? Give me something to do.
To me, that makes perfect sense. But it's, a lot of times it's your local area, I call it almost cultural, right? Like, no matter how much I can stand up there like a Southern Baptist preacher and browbeat the hell out of people on why they need to have Bermuda grass in East Tennessee, and everybody's going to look at me like I'm crazy. They're just not going to believe me. It would be like trying to convince Louisville, Kentucky as a whole that they need to all transfer over to Bermuda grass. I mean, they're going to laugh you out of the room. They'll laugh you out of the state. But it's funny, the few people that do try it, all of a sudden they're like, hey, that's not that bad. That's kind of fun. And I can tell you that from a commercial applicator perspective, there's a lot more tools that we can dip into on warm season grass that we don't have available to us for cool season grass that can bail you out of a sticky situation. And, if you can commingle the two together, right, where normally, when it's 90, 95 degrees outside with 90, 95% humidity and all your cool season grass is checking out, well, now your Bermuda is, rocking and rolling, and you can look like the good guy.
Yeah, that's a thought, right? That's a thought right there.
I can't.
Hey, Mountain View Seed, if you're listening, I'll take. I don't need that much. My test plot's only about 500 square. It's probably about 500 square feet. That's all I need.
Just a pallet.
a little bit.
Get him a pallet.
That's all I need. We can make it happen. Videos and all. Let's make it happen.
That's interesting what Ray just said, that Poa annua and Poa trivialis are not as invasive as much of an issue as Bermuda. That's interesting. Is Bermuda really that invasive?
Well, it's
I don't have any experience with it.
We have tools to kill it in Bermuda grass, right? So you can spray Monument, Revolver, Tribute, these herbicides that just make POA a thing of the past, and then from a pre-emergent perspective, there's Spectacle on the block too, Simazine, Atrazine, that you just can't apply to cool season grasses, and will give you that added layer of prevention as well as post-emergent options. And the other thing you could do too with Bermuda is during the winter is you can spray it with Roundup, no problem, and take it out.
Now, holy water.
Put some holy water. On that thing.
Fun fact. I have about 18 months of legally using holy water in Germany, and then
right,
and then that change. I don't. The law is weird right now. So it says you won't be able to buy it anymore. But the way I'm interpreted, that means like if you have it, it's like in the army, smoke them if you got them. So I don't know if that means you can't use it or you won't be able to use it. But right now, I got some holy water on the way that looks like it was made in a foreign country, because it was.
I don't know. I know it's going up across the EU. It's going back up for label reapproval right now. I just read an article about it over the weekend.
Yeah, I read this. I probably read the same article because I've been watching it closely. Because the last thing I need These Germans don't play, man. They will lock you up and take your kids away from you if you discipline them in public. So I'm just like, I do not need any issues in the field when I'm doing this reno next year. So I'm reading it close. I'm reading it 3 times, double. Yeah, I'm making sure. But yeah, I'm pretty sure I saw the same article. They're reconsidering. They're reconsidering.
Yeah. Can you ask for more than that? You know, who knows how it'll play out, but at least they're open to taking another look at it.
My guess, they're going to let the farmers keep it, and residential is going to go away. That's my guess.
I agree 100%.
Yeah. We'll see what happens. You got any questions down in the chat? They're laughing at the holy water.
That is funny.
All right, so I'm gonna shift gears for us a little bit. Matt, if you could you provide like some? I'm gonna give you 2 scenarios. We're now into the fall, entering into the winter. So there's a couple of things going on. Leaves are falling, temperatures are dropping, soil temps are dropping. We've got frost and all of that stuff happening. People that have just done renovations or did overseedings, what can they expect from their lawn? What can they expect it to look like, or things that would happen during this period of time? Any yellowing at the tips, those kind of things, like any of that kind of stuff. What can people kind of expect their lawn to do during this phase of winter?
Yeah, so I guess I'll put it this way, and it's going to be a little bit harsh, but you give up trying to preserve the aesthetic right now. Once we start hitting regular frost are going to ding it, and you may have a frost, and then 2 weeks, for the next 2 weeks, it's going to be decently temperatured, and you'll get a little bit of growth, and then it's going to have a yellow haze across the surface of the grass. And people are going to panic and be like, oh, I need to put something on it. What do I need to do? What do I need to do? Nothing. Just leave it alone. Chill out. Once the frost start, just be done. You know, don't let the leaves pile up in certain areas. So, you know, if you got to get a few leaves off or whatever, or run your mulcher over it to chop up the leaves, call it good. But now's the time to be, you know, planning for next year. Start thinking about next year. And here's the thing, even if you're not at 100% coverage right now, say you're at like 98% coverage or 96% coverage, don't panic, because a lot of plant maturation is going to occur in the spring. So literally check out right now. And that would be my advice to everybody. Calm down, chill out, check out, get a bottle of whiskey, start drinking, you know, stay warm by the fire kind of sort of thing. Don't worry about the grass.
I love it. That's all I can say. So one thing, like I've heard it before. I actually made a video on it last year, maybe around December-ish time frame, and I called it "Why So Yellow?" Like, because I was getting so many questions, everything was happening, and even this season, just kind of leading up to that. That's why I asked that question. Like, because it kind of has happened to me now. This color that you see in the back right now, I'll be 100% honest. It's gone. It is gone. We've had some pretty cold low 20s for multiple days in. That color has checked out. It's just done. But I wanted to just kind of reiterate to the community that it's time to just let it go at this point. Like you if you haven't done it by now, wait until the spring.
Yeah, I mean, and listen, you can try, and here's the thing: after you get a hard freeze on it, that's all the cell rupturing that's going to take place, really, you know, and what's going to create that discoloration, and it's not going to go anywhere until either you cut it all out, and in some instances that means, you know, you may have to scalp it down to the ground, and scalping it to the ground right now doesn't make any sense, or you get enough growth to grow it out, right? And nobody's going to get enough growth to grow it out. There's no amount of fertilizer in the world that's going to grow it out. And so I hear, you know, this is kind of old wives' tale you'd hear on the golf courses, right? Is before a frost, going out with like potassium nitrate or calcium nitrate, something that's real salty, potassium chloride, to try and keep the grass from freezing, right? So you raise the salt content in the leaf of the grass, to that way you raise the you lower the freeze point of it, and you may keep it green for another 2 weeks or whatever. We're beyond that. If you've had a hard frost or a hard freeze and it actually froze your grass up to that point, you're beyond it. You're not getting it back. Hang your hat up. There's no point in even chasing that. At the time, back in 2005, 2006, that was like the cool thing to do, because you got a few more rounds out of your course or whatever. But conventional wisdom has caught up with us to tell us that that's actually not a good thing to try and prolong that period of letting it shut down. Let nature take over. It's we'll never win the war against nature. You may win a battle here and there, but at the end of the day, we got to check out and let it do what it's going to do, because it's what's winning.
Right. So you mentioned two other things like during your response. One of those being coverage. So you say you're not at the coverage that you want it to be from your overseed. And I actually plan on making a video on this because I'm in that same point. Didn't get the coverage that I was looking for to grow in my backyard. Seeded it multiple times. It just wanted to fight me this year. And I had my fence put in during that same period of time. I'm just pretty sure it was a whole lot of stress going on. So if they don't have the coverage that they're looking for, do you recommend dormant seeding? Do you recommend holding off and waiting until the spring and see how it thickens up? What would your recommendation be as far as if you're not satisfied with your coverage right now?
Hell yes, wait till spring. First off, dormant seeding is literally rolling a dice. And only in the most extreme circumstances would I even consider it, because you got 6 sides on a dice, only one of them's going to grow grass, right? So what are your odds really of getting grass to grow during a dormant seeding? And you can try every trick in the book of pre-germinating and all this fun stuff to try and make a dormant seeding successful. It's you got a 1 in 6 shot at best of it turning into viable grass. So I would not recommend that. Here's the other piece that a lot of people don't take into consideration, right? When you've got one seed, you've got one plant, right? Assuming you have a clumping type grass like perennial ryegrass or tall fescue. A tall fescue plant in a year can move to fill in about 4 inches in diameter, right? So you got to think about it that if you've got 2 seeds that are 4 inches apart, they're going to meet. And you've covered that. Well, 2 seeds that are covering 4 inches does not look like enough coverage. But as those plants mature, that's ample coverage. You're nuts to nuts on that. Yeah, exactly. You're filled in. So, I'm sorry. Hang on. Let me turn this off real quick. I've got a phone ringing in my ear right now. So that's why I think it's always wisest to let maturity take place through spring. Let it see what it's going to do, and maybe you got to make an adjustment, and because think about it. You may end up getting up to 98, 99%, and by the time that's fully matured, you don't even notice where you got a bare spot. It hides it. Yeah. And then you can say, well, I can wait till fall again where I know I'm going to get good germination and, I got nothing to worry about. So, yeah.
Yep. So my last, I completely agree with that, because coming out of fall last or winter this year, my backyard, I did not think that it was going to make it. I thought I was going to have to do an overseed, and I was like, this thing looks terrible. It was thin. It just looked bad, but I gave it till about May-ish time frame, end of March, April. I'm sorry, about April-ish time frame, and it was already filling in. Never put a seed down, never did anything with it, and it will fill in. Like it'll fill in and you'll never see it. So for me, the last part of that is leaves. So are you a recommendation of mulching or your recommendation of getting them off the lawn? Like, where do you stand with the benefits of mulching in leaves, or should you get them off?
Whatever you feel like doing.
I like
There
it.
you go.
I like it.
I like it. So are you saying that the amount of phosphorus that you can pull from mulching those leaves throughout the entire fall is almost negligible, and you should phosphorus and OM, as they say, as you'll see the cool articles read from your local extension office and whatnot, is it not worthwhile, or is it just like, don't lose any sleep over it, don't complicate it, do whatever works for you? I just want to know where.
Yeah. So the amount of OM recycling that's going to take place can be significant, but here's the thing: is that you're not. A lot of times, it's falling in a rather localized area. It's not distributed evenly across the lawn. And so therefore you're not necessarily applying that OM in an even distribution pattern across the lawn, right? And who's to say whether or not that's going to create any sort of discoloration issues for you or not? 98% of the time it's not. You'd never notice. So really the amount of difference that would take place over whether you do it or you don't do it in most people's eyes would not be significant enough to justify 100% do not pick up a leaf, just continue to mulch it. So in my opinion, and in how the majority of the world is going to see this, and the results you see from it, the benefit you gain from it, it's whatever you have the energy to do.
Yeah, I like it.
Love
Cool.
it. Love it. I'm done.
I like it.
Yeah, so I'm going to take over a little bit here, Matt. I'm going to pull us a little bit back to the Poa trivialis, because I do have a question
Let's
for
do
you.
this.
All right. So I've came across a study about Anu, and using it with Poa trivialis. Now, I shared that study with you. I read through it, didn't quite understand what it was really saying. Yeah. It looks like it's saying that Anu does help against Poa trivialis. So just some clarification there. I shared that with Vito too, so I'm sure he's interested in this answer as well.
All right, so here I'm going to share my screen so we can throw this this study up here. And what they are comparing are the results of two different herbicides here. You have Acclaim Extra, which is the active ingredient that is phenoxaprop, and then the other one is Prograss, and Prograss is ethifumicate, as that's the active ingredient there. Well, I thought I could throw this up for my camera. I guess I don't know. Maybe I can't. That's fine. And so what they do, and this is a relatively short-term look here, what they do is they look at how much phytotoxicity takes place over 17 days after application. Yeah. And so phytotoxicity is how much yellowing actually takes place to the plant, right? And so they run of Acclaim from 3.5 ounces an acre all the way up to 39 ounces per acre. And what we see with Acclaim is that only at the higher rates do we induce some yellowing. You can see you get some pretty significant yellowing where it gets to a 4.3 on June 15th. That's telling me that that's deemed pretty good. Same thing with the Prograss here. Somewhere around 10 days after application into 17 days after application, at all rates, we're getting some very, very significant what appears to be death out of your Poa trivialis. Mm-hmm. Now, if we go to the next column, the next column says cover, right? And so this tells us how much Poa trivialis actually dies. So the higher the number, the less death actually occurred. That means you have the higher the number, the more coverage you have. So what we see is that, after, what would this be? 42 days after initial application, or I guess that would be closer to 37 days after initial application. There was not really much dieback that occurred at all with Acclaim, right? So, we go from 100% coverage to 88% coverage. We go from 100% coverage to 90% coverage. So a little bit, 10% roughly is what you end up killing. Now, what's interesting with ProGrass at the highest rate, this is a 1.5 pounds of AI per gallon, you are seeing a reduction from 100% down to 40% coverage.
40%.
So now that's, that would say, okay, we're getting a certain amount of performance out of ethofumicate for controlling Poa trivialis, but that would still not necessarily be considered an acceptable level of control. That still kind of falls into that category of suppression. And another compounding factor with that too is that you are, with that 40% that survives, you are now carrying over the potential for resistance to develop because you only killed 60% of the plants. So you're now allowing that to be able to carry over with that active ingredient, and it's perennial and it's creeping too, right? So you took out 60% of it, but over the course of the next spring, 40% may grow back, and now you're back to 80% coverage. So did you actually really kill anything there, or did you just kind of suppress it and knock it back? So, what's frustrating about this though is that on the Acclaim label is they label Poa trivialis control out of it. And I was talking to you about this before we came live. I had a friend in Pennsylvania do it, another friend in Ohio do it, and they were doing longer periods of application. So instead of doing 1 or 2 applications, they were doing 6 and 7 applications, seeing what level of control they would get out of it, just because the label tells you it's going to kill it, right? So at some point it has to die. And I could tell you through that experience, they never saw death. I never ran it that many applications. As many as high as I got was 4, and I never saw any death. So Acclaim, in my experience, is not very fruitful. It's not worth the money. Now, it's effective on crabgrass control. So I think it's a great product in that regard, but for Poa triv, no.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
So Matt, I want you to look into your crystal ball. You got your crystal ball? You got it? Is it handy? You got it?
It is my hand.
It's your hand? Okay. All right, cool. So I'm going to paint a scenario for you, and we're going to see how accurate you are in about 2 weeks when I get these soil tests back, right? So, and Ray, I know you're still here. Chime in as well. My backyard faces south, full sun. It's a perfect scenario for both the lawn, full renovation, and this booming garden I'm about to have over here. It's about to be amazing. I even wanted bees, but then the landlord was like, I can't have bees. I don't know why, but so be it, whatever. I can't have bees. They got a thing against bees. So we won't have bumblebees on the turf therapy residence in Europe, unfortunately, which is pretty disappointing seeing how honeybees are native to Europe, but I digress. That yard is full of weeds. My yard is like 40% weeds right now. A lot of clover, henbits out there, dead nettle is out there. Easy cleanups. The side plot, it's not nearly as many weeds, believe it or not. But what I do have creeping in through the side plot in the front, which faces north, and just the way that the sun pattern works and how my house falls on this land, I'm guessing it probably only gets, at the peak of summer, maybe 6 hours of shining light. And I have algae that looks so mature, it looks like it should be in a sci-fi movie. Like I'm arguing maybe 30, probably 40% of that turf is algae. And there's some wicked looking algae. What do you think is going on? And I'm gonna add this too. Worm castings everywhere. It's so bad. I have hard time. I have 2 little Yorkies, and it's hard to figure out whether it's worm castings or poop. So based off what I just told you, what do you think I'm working with? Just a guess. I know that's not a lot of information, but what do you think I'm working with over here? I'm preparing for a full burn down in the backyard. I'm gonna do it 3 different ways, just to show people 3 different results. Right? It's all gonna be the same seed, but the back down is gonna be a full reno. Side plot's gonna be an overseed. Front yard is filled with algae, so it's gonna be an overseed plus correcting that issue. But what do you think I'm to expect with that very limited information when I get this soil test back in German that I'm gonna have to translate?
To be honest, I have no idea. But my best guess is if you have what appears to be excessive earthworm activity, I'm going to guess your soil's very high in organic matter. And if you are dealing with that much algae, I'm going to guess you're also high in phosphorus. And those are really the only 2 things I feel confident going out on a limb on. I see Ray says too much water, poor drainage. Could be,
Yeah.
Are you dealing with? But you said that was in the front, right?
So that's in the front, but the way that the climate works is very similar to, I can't remember the guest that you brought on the grass factor. By the way, if for some reason you're here and you don't know about the grass factor, you need to check out Thirsty Thursday and educate yourself over there. But you had a guest on that was in like over near the Great Lakes, and he had a cool season lawn that was very similar to a warm season grow climate. That is the exact circumstances I'm dealing with here. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. I'm sure somebody will drop it in the chat below.
Redneck computer geek. Wasn't a redneck computer geek or something like that?
Redneck computer geek had an odd growth curve like that too.
Yeah, that wasn't him though. Yeah.
Yeah, and I know Ray probably feels a lot more confident in probably throwing some mud at the wall here to see what sticks. It could be with he said too much water, poor drainage. That could be a symptom of very high organic matter. It also could be another symptom of extremely high magnesium levels in the soil as well too. So I don't feel comfortable, going out that far out on a limb. I don't think I have that's too much crystal ball. I'm just going to go high OM, high phosphorus levels, and I don't think you could pull any kind of pH estimates off that. I wouldn't feel comfortable doing that at least. So that's my best guess.
Yeah, I was just curious to see what your brain would rattle up. Lushy, I got to take a closer look at the drainage. I got to take a closer look, but look, I got Lawns with Attitudes coming out with Ray, featuring Ray. I mean, Matt's in it, but it's all about Ray. Let's be honest. It's all about Ray in Nashville. After that, you'll see my verse video in Germany, which is related to gardening, only because they just harvested a particular crop that fascinated the crap out of me, how they did it and how they stacked it up. And it ties into World War I during the British blockade. So I thought that was pretty cool. So I got a video on that. But then after that, I will be unveiling my lawn and showing you what a German soil test questionnaire thing looks like when I have to fill it out, me pulling my soil samples and getting you the lay on the land. So give me 2.5, 3 weeks and I will show it all. I promise you. Yep. And the neighbors are already looking at me crazy. I promise.
But see, that's what I'm talking about. Turf is all the way in Germany, pulling soil tests, getting the results, translating it, figuring out how to get the samples done. That's what I'm talking about before you get started on the lawn. And see, that's the thing. I want to give credit where credit's due. And a lot of people that know me, salute to an OG when you see him. That's one of the things that I like to say. I mean, because we've been preaching this to like the community. Make sure you get a soil test. Make sure you get a soil test. Get something reputable that you know what it is. And you can compare it to agronomic studies and everything else that we've been doing. And I mean, that's just all the way in a foreign land, can't even read what it's asking for, but we still pulling soil tests. That's what I'm talking about right now.
And the lab is called, if anybody is interested, let me just make sure before I misspeak. Yeah, it's called AgroLab. AgroLabs in Europe. I mean, that's pretty much well, it might be another option, but listen, once you stumble through so many things, translating so many people, when you find something, you just go with it. Okay, but it's called AgroLab. It's out here in Europe. The seed that I'm choosing, there'll be a multi-series. Like after I unveil my lawn to you, I'm going to show you all the German products that I picked up after properly identifying the weeds that's currently present. That gives me a good idea of what I'm dealing with in this lawn. So I'm picking up stuff to take care of that, just in case, I have some weeds pop up again. I'm not going too crazy with it, but I'll show you that. I'll show you with some of the fertilizers that I'm going to choose to use while I'm out here, at least for the first season. And then I will also show you the seed that I got, which it's all in German. I have to translate everything. So it should be fun though. I'm looking forward to it.
I'm looking here. It's pretty interesting that they do Malik 3 testing there, which I think that goes to show that if you are for anybody that's looking at doing a soil test and is curious of what kind to have done, the Malik 3 is pretty much universal in terms of where all the research lies, right? And it doesn't matter if you're in Germany or you're in Australia or you're in the United States. That pretty much lays the basis for all the data, right? Even if you look at like Southeast Asia and stuff, they're doing the same thing over there. Michael Woods with Asian Turfgrass Center and all that fun stuff. All the research is done around Malik 3. So if you're confused at all the different options, a lot of times that's just a good, simple thing to point to that has the most correlative data around it.
Yeah, and that's why I didn't look any further. As soon as it translated and I saw Malik 3, I was like, yep, that's it. I'm stopping there. How much? Oh, okay, it's not 100 euros. Cool. Yeah, we're good. Because I found some place that quoted me at like 275 euros. I was like, look, we got to do better than that. That doesn't make any sense. I'm about to break some laws and send some stuff back to Spectrum Analytics or something. I don't know. 275 euros. No, that ain't gonna work. Are y'all coming to do the samples too? No, I have to bring them to you. No, y'all are out of your minds. I don't know what y'all testing, but I don't need to know it. I'm good. But I think that company had more so to do with building structural foundations. So it was a soil test based off like density of soil and how far you probably need to dig to put your foundation in base. I don't know, things are pretty loose out here when you're trying to translate things. Everything doesn't translate as you think it would, but I'm looking forward to the challenge. I am nervous as all get out about this reno. I'm gonna let you know because the window that I have is so small and I gotta get it right. I gotta get it right. I gotta get it right. And I don't have much room for error, man. Like I got like a 4 to 5 month growing season. Timing just has to be on point. And then hopefully I don't get like sent off to some exercise somewhere for 3 weeks during the time I need to be doing 3 applications of holy water or something like that. So we'll see. I'm going for it though. I'm leaning all the way in. I'm going for it.
Send it.
Yeah.
Full send.
Yeah, you'll nail it. You ain't gotta worry about that.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Matt, let me shift gears if you all don't mind really quick. Everyone knows that we are coming out of the fall season, going into the winter season, and some people this year, both warm season and cool season, has dealt with funguses in their lawn. So a lot of people are confused on whether they should be putting a fungicide down going into the winter time. So if you can just kind of clarify that for them. I know warm season, the grass is dormant. Where Bermuda grass, the grass is dormant. But can you just kind of clarify to the people whether they should or shouldn't be putting down a fungicide going into the winter if they dealt with a fungus in their lawn this year?
Yeah, so for the guys up in the north that have to deal with like snow mold, they probably should have already gotten it down, for preventative for snow mold. People in the transition zone and the even the just north of the transition zone, that kind of makes up the majority of the U.S. No, there's no reason to apply anything. Even on warm season grass at this point, there's no reason to apply anything either. Now, if you're in Florida and you've still got some green in your zoysia grass, and you don't have a frost in your foreseeable future, then brown patch can kind of be a thing in middle to South Florida from now through March, something like that. So maybe there, but the rest of the United States right now, no insecticides, definitely no fungicides. I mean, literally hang the hat up and be done. Just watch whatever happens outside happens. Now's a good time to go talk a bunch of trash with your neighbors and all that fun stuff to gear up for next season. Not be
Talk
applying
about
stuff.
them
Go catch
those
go
dirty
catch up on the
girls,
grass,
those
man.
dirty girls with blue stars and stuff like that. Yeah, that's what you're supposed to.
Okay, I heard it. I ain't gonna pull the flag out. So
Yeah.
Matt, I mean, for the people that did deal with a fungus this year, going into next year, when is a good time for them to maybe be able to put one down to kind of just get prepared for it? And is there anything in particular that they should be putting down? Because I know one thing, and you can also elaborate on this as well. I know one thing that and correct me if I'm wrong, but one thing that you are not a fan of is a granular fungicide. So is there anything that they can put down? Because I know a lot of people still use the Scots, but is there anything that they can do to kind of work a way around that so that they won't be using it in your opinion?
Yeah, so I'll start with in the spring, dollar spot can be an issue, especially in the Kentucky bluegrass yards, right? And I'm definitely not an expert on dollar spot because where we are, Polo, we can fertilize our way out of dollar spot, no problem.
Right.
Guys in Ohio, Middle Indiana, Wisconsin, places like that, it's more of an issue there because the disease pressure is so high, it's difficult for them to fertilize their way out of it. And that it kind of coincides where there are good disease models. I don't know if they're publicly available right now, but there is a dollar spot disease model that was part of. You can use. I know you can use Greencast. Greencast can give you a dollar spot model, and I think typically they recommend that if you're over like 40% probability for dollar spot and trending in that direction and when I say trending in that direction, I mean rising temperatures, right? So if you're in the spring. And, if it's February and you've got a week of these temperatures and you may be in a 40% probability, not necessary to apply anything. But if you're in early May and you're at a 40% probability and you've got increasing temperatures right in behind it, then yeah, it makes sense in that regard to go ahead and apply it. For brown patch, just because that's been burned into my brain, typically daytimes over 80, nighttimes over 60, and really where the pressure's on is when daytime temperatures are over 85 and nighttime temperatures are over 65. If you see that 5 days in a row with decent relative humidity over that time period in your forecast, you need to scramble and hurry up and get down your preventative brown patch fungicide. I'm not an expert on summer patch and Kentucky bluegrass, but I think that kind of happens around the same time brown patch does. And now there's a little bit different things you can do there, and there's a lot of data that correlates manganese sulfate, going out with higher applications of manganese sulfate are just or as close to as effective as fungicides on managing summer patch and Kentucky bluegrass. It's not often talked about, but there's a lot of data that backs that up. But all right, and so we'll say like, okay, you're dealing with a dollar spot, for instance, and there's a great chart. If you type in dollar spot, NC State, they have what's called their turf files, right? And they have a chart of different active ingredients, and it shows you the success probability of these products. They have an efficacy rating, and it's like 1 to 4 pluses. And typically, this information is a little bit outdated. I would try and apply the 4 pluses rather than the 3 or 2 pluses, even though it shows that it does have some degree of efficacy at a 3 plus. I'm telling you that that may be the difference between you preventing 80% of the disease and preventing 100% of the disease. And if you only prevent 80% of the disease and you still have 20% make its way into the yard, there's nobody that's really happy with that, right? So, try and stick to the 4 pluses and move forward. Now, the timing of that, like I said, the most efficient way to go about the timing of that is to use one of the models that's put together. So, Greencast has one. I'm trying to remember of. There is a university professor that just left the university space with his software, and I'm drawing a total blank on it right now.
Ray with the assist. Come on, Ray. I know you're thinking it. With the assist, Ray. No pressure.
Yeah, let me see if I can. I don't know. I'm drawing a blank. Greencast is going to be. We'll have good model. You can also type in dollar spot modeling into Google, or dollar spot prediction model, and Smith Kern's dollar spot prediction model. There you go. And you'll see that you can use already pre-built solutions like what Greencast does.
Greenkeeper.
Greenkeeper's the other one. Yes, that's exactly what I was trying to think of.
Yeah.
Bill Cruiser
for the win.
Yes, there it is. And or you can input the data into your spreadsheet and log your temperatures as you move into that time period, and it'll your own spreadsheet will give you your own warning when you need to apply or whatever. And that is the absolute safest way to do that, because the individual climate variances that may take place between Richmond, Virginia, and Raleigh, North Carolina, are all taken into account there, right? So I think that's the safest way to make a blanket recommendation on that. As far as granular fungicides, again, it's one of those where I'm not particularly keen on it. I understand from a cost perspective, it allows you to buy. It allows you to spend your dollar based on the amount of square footage you have, right? So, you can spend $30, you can get a 5,000 square foot bag, right? And that's a lot more palatable than buying a gallon at $350, even though it'll treat 100 acres or 10 acres or 20 acres or whatever. You only got 5,000 square feet. So I understand that. But I think the other thing that needs to be understood is that it will lead to reduced efficacy. And just because you are experiencing reduced efficacy, it doesn't give the green light to continue to apply and apply and apply and apply because it's failing. It will likely continue to fail in the same way that it did before. So it would be more so that you would have to go at it with the approach that understanding that using a granular fungicide is going to open you up to potential for breakthrough that you may otherwise have a little bit more control over with a liquid, or the need to diversify your active ingredients when you apply your fungicide, right? So even though you may be applying a granular azoxystrobin, then it's all the more imperative that whatever AI you're going to run alongside with it, in addition to, is a liquid if you can, right? Now there's some pre-built formulas that are combined in one, like a headway, for instance, that is going to combine azoxystrobin and propiconazole in a granular form. It's already 2 AIs that are brought together in a granular form. It's going to do well because you've got 2 AIs, both of them are in granular form. You're getting a little bit more protection out of it than you would if it was just granular azoxystrobin. It's a good option. It's significant. It's very expensive, cost per thousand, very expensive per application, but it is more effective. It may be more cost effective to say spray propiconazole and spread azoxystrobin. So you kind of have to play around with numbers there to see what ends up working out for you. But I'm not a fan of applying things as a granular that are intended to be applied as a liquid, and that even goes for pre-emergent. Even though data says granular pre-emergents are just effective as liquid pre-emergents, I have a mental disorder that it just doesn't feel right to me, right? That my coverage still isn't, because if you've ever applied a granular across a bare ground, you can watch the granules just bounce across the bare ground. And it may not always be even distribution versus if you have tight ass grass. Typically, where it falls in the grass, it falls to the ground, right? Ain't gonna be no bouncing around. It's hard if you've got a 6-inch square or a 6-inch square bare spot to try and get the granules to stay in that specific area.
Yeah,
I kind of feel like the same thing about granular insecticides, granular fungicides. There's some exceptions to the rule, but as a generalized statement, if you can go liquid, do go liquid. If you can't, try and diversify your AIs as much as you can to get the biggest bang for your buck.
Hey, I want you to unpack something real quick, Matt. It's fitting that I say that, seeing how I'm pretty sure I adopted that phrase from you. Well, I'm 100% sure I adopted that phrase for you. Spin Martin just made a statement, and I just want you to give context to it. I understand, but it's a running theme that we're seeing a lot of, and I'm glad that homeowners are being hip to it. But Spin Martin says, remember, fungus starts in your morning dew. If you can knock it off with irrigation, that helps. Why? Just why? How? What does that mean when we're talking about the disease triangle, that coming all together, the 150 rule, and then dew? Dew is like the best kept secret that is not necessarily common knowledge across the residential homeowners, DIYers, but it seems to be something that the pros are very familiar with. Or if you've gone to a turf or taken a turf management course, you're aware of. Can we talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, there is a lot of supporting data that shows employing practices to eliminate dew will help delay the onset of disease. And it's not going to guarantee you are not going to get disease, but it is certainly one of those cultural practices that you can employ that will set you up for your best level of success, right? And there's a lot that ends up getting secreted through the dew, right? There's going to be some sugars and stuff that end up passing through, and I don't know specifically is that a compounding problem that leads to it? I just don't know. I know that it's not always just simply water that is in the dew, right? So, but in that morning period, by knocking it off, you're allowing it to dry out faster, and thereby eliminating, one aspect of the disease triangle. So there you go.
So let me ask you this. Is that dew that is, I'm sorry. Did I step on someone?
Nah, go ahead. I'll go after you.
Yeah.
Go
So how does that dew apply when it comes to, so we're talking about, it looks like it's more specific to dollar spot based off what Ray is saying. But when we're talking about the garden, Is there any concern there? I don't know if you can answer that question, or maybe somebody can throw you an assist down in the chat. But is the dew specific to the turf?
I don't know.
Okay, that's a fair answer. I love it.
I do
We
not.
gonna
What
find.
about what Ray said there about wetting agents?
Yeah, there's some hot info coming in down there.
Yeah.
You want to read them, PJ? Read a couple
Yeah,
of
so
them.
the one I was looking at was Ray said other ways to do this is with wetting agents that do not allow dew to form the cohesive drop. So how does that can you kind of talk about that a little bit?
Yeah.
Are we
So
using wetting agents like the night before every day, or is it like apply a wetting agent once every 2 to 3 weeks or something? That's a
yeah,
good
it
question.
depends on the chemistry of the wetting agent you use. You'll have a reapplication interval on it, and just follow that at label rates. And so wetting agents are various types of surfactants, right? And let me tell you that when they get complex into the surfactant space, it is unlike anything. It's a whole nother world, like herbicides are or fungicides are, because you've got block polymers, you got co-block polymers, you got reverse co-block polymers, all these different characteristics you get out of these surfactants. And what a surfactant is going to do is cut the surface tension of water, right? So inhibit the ability for water to bead. So if you think about dew, right, typically it forms water beads all along the leaf surface. So if there is a surfactant in place that will inhibit that water from beading on the leaf surface, it'll fall off, it'll run off, right? Therefore, inhibiting the amount of dew that can actually form on the leaf surface.
So something
Yeah,
like
so
hydratane would be good to use.
It could be. I don't know enough about the surfactants they use. I know they use a very specific polymer to absorb moisture.
I would
I
love to
don't
see you
know.
unpack that.
Yeah, and I know they've got to have a surfactant piece of it to help infiltration into the soil. Is there enough of that piece in it to inhibit it? I don't know the right answer to that, unfortunately. Yeah. So
I would love to see. I've been waiting on the Grass Factory to do a study on hydratane, not necessarily for you to validate whether or not it works, but I just want to see your swing. I want to see you whiteboard that product. I know I've had very impressive results, very positive results by using it and introducing it into my plan. But when it comes to the science behind it and what it's actually doing, I would love to see a whiteboard on that. That's just me being selfish right now, throwing that out there. But yeah, so Ray came back and he was like, dew is also an issue with powdery mildew and black spot, which is what I was kind of thinking in my head. So, that's going to call to some videos for me next year on trying and getting up in the morning and rinsing off that dew first thing in the morning when we are in that perfect disease triangle it's especially with tomato plants. You'll see it quite often with tomato plants. It's usually this prime 2 to 3 week window where, you're just hoping for the best. And usually the best way to mitigate it that I have been doing had been ensuring that there's adequate airflow. And I think that just encourages it to do the dry off as quickly as possible in the morning. But another step and a real easy thing to do before I take off for work, or maybe setting up an extra sprinkler head on that garden to go off at 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning to wash that dew off. That might be a thing that I might be interested in doing, and other gardeners might be interested in doing, just to save yourself some neem oil and any and everything else that you might have to deal with, copper, when you're dealing with those funguses during that season. So I like that. That's good information. Palmer, let Matt finish editing the videos he's got. Yes, sir, JP.
So-
hey, I'm right there with him.
hell no.
So I want to jump in there real quick, Turf, just to piggyback off of what you said, but I actually have bookmarked a comment over here that Spin Martin said it. He was like, "Yo, find your dew point, and it may be 2 a.m. like you were talking about, and it was like wait a couple hours and then run your syringe cycle to knock that dew off."
Yep.
that is something that I'm highly interested in. And the thing is I knew about the do, and I was like, but how important is it for me to be able to do that? But the thing is you want to set yourself up for the best success when you've put this much time, effort, and money into your lawn. If it means that you've got an irrigation system that you can set it to maybe run for 5 minutes or so, 3 minutes or so, whatever the case may be, just to help set you up for a better case scenario, why not do that? So that's I appreciate that. I appreciate that, Spin. That's
Yeah,
that's
and then look,
really valid.
Evie's coming right behind with the high. Evie and Ray combined just formed Captain Planet. Ray says I would hit the plants with a leaf blower to try to dry the leaves off. And in my mind, I'm like, that's a better idea because I know overhead watering with tomatoes is a big no-no because you could start other diseases from the soil. And then Evie comes right behind him and he's like, that's exactly right for tomatoes, but overhead watering is typically not the best for tomatoes. I'd rather knock the dew off physically on tomatoes and increase airflow with pruning. So combining both of those statements, I may have unlocked gold when it comes to never dealing with powdery mildew in my tomatoes ever again. We'll see. What's up, Ben? Ben, the long
What is going
guardian,
on,
man, I'm
Ben?
glad you're here.
My guy Ben. What's going on, man? I rock with Ben. Ben's my guy.
Yeah, Ben's my guy too, man. And we talking gardening and you pop up. How about that?
Ears are burning.
Let me. I know we had jumped into there though, but let me switch gears again, really quick.
Go ahead, switch.
Matt, let me jump on polymer coated fertilizers. Can you give the audience both warm season and cool season examples? When's the best time to be able to use them, and understanding that, like, if you use them in the wrong temperatures, like for a cool season lawn, where it can really be a negative for you.
Okay. Yes. So here's the and you kind of got me rattled on this because there's a new piece of research out about polymer coated fertilizers, and kind of what's put at test is, are you actually getting what you're paying for? And at least from the data that I saw is that in cooler weather, yes. In warmer weather, no. So to explain a little bit about a polymer coating, when you wrap nitrogen or any nutrient in a polymer coating, effectively what happens is you allow water to move into the granule, which will start to dissolve the granule, right? So if you polymer coat urea, water can move in, start to dissolve the urea. However, that polymer will only allow the water to move back out of that polymer coating very, very slowly. Now, the caveat is that the warmer it is outside, the faster it will allow that water to move back out. And so typically when you're looking at these release curves from manufacturers, right, and I'm not picking on Duration at all. I think Duration's a phenomenal product. Like Duration 90, when they rate Duration 90 that it will release up to 90 days, they're calculating that at a release curve at 85 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, if you're at 65 degrees Fahrenheit, that's going to be significantly slower because you're not up to that 85 degrees where you have optimal diffusion back out of that polymer. Now, if you're at 95 degrees Fahrenheit, all bets are off the table, and it's going to diffuse out of it almost as fast as it lets water in. So a Duration 90 at 90 degrees Fahrenheit may only release for 45 days. Mm-hmm. Where that can be a problem is you may go into your spring and say, I'm going to apply an extremely slow release fertilizer right now, so that way it just drip feeds through the summer, because even though we're hot as hell during the summer, it's still beneficial to apply a little bit of fertilizer, right? Mm-hmm. There's enough data to support that. Now, where you can get stuck with your pants down is You apply this ultra slow release polymer coated fertilizer, you experience a week of warm temperatures at 90, 95 degrees Fahrenheit, and all of a sudden it dumps.
Yep.
And that's kind of the slang we use for it is fertilizer dumping. It dumps all your nitrogen, and now instead of releasing a 1/4 pound a month over the next 3 months, all of a sudden it's releasing 9/10 of a pound all at one time. And if it's 95 degrees outside, tall fescue, and you dump 9/10 of a pound on it, what happens? Bye-bye. Or fungus. Yeah, I mean, it's just you're riding a bucking bronco at this point, and who knows what's going to stop it.
So, I mean, isn't that equivalent to dancing around with a full organic slow release as well? I mean, I know that you guys were just talking about that. That's in a sense in the same alley where you don't know when it may release when you're dealing with those super warm climates, right?
Yeah, so you can run into the same thing with an organic fertilizer. Now, in organic fertilizer, there's a bit of a buffer built in, and Ken, you and I have talked at length about this, about how yes, you will get a certain amount of release that takes place over the course of a year, and the overwhelming majority of that happens in the hottest part of the year. But what's interesting about mineralization is that there's still a certain amount that carries over to the next year and to the next year. So really, even though you may be applying a pound of N from an organic fertilizer, right? And I'll pick on Milorganite because why not? Everybody has a relationship with it in some regard. You apply a pound of N from Milorganite, you may release 6/10 of that pound of N the first year you apply it. The second year, you may release 1/10 of a pound to 1/4 of a pound. The third year, you may release 1/10 of a pound to 1/15 of a pound, right? So it's not that you're necessarily carrying over just a metric ton of nitrogen year over year, but it's the point there that it is carrying over. And so say you apply 4 pounds through the course of the year from Milorganite. Well, now all of a sudden, into year number 2, you may be carrying over close to a pound. Year number 3, you may be carrying over somewhere up to a 1/4 of a pound, right? And all of that starts to add up. Say you do it for 2 years. Well, now you're carrying over to year number 2 or year number 3, right? And a lot of times you can get lured into a false sense of security because you may stop fertilizing for a while and the grass just keeps chooching at 100 miles an hour. And you're like, man, this is incredible, and I'm good here. But eventually that runs out, that catches up to you, and then it's not quite performing the same way. You got to repeat your process. So organic fertilizers have a bit of a safer buffer built in because they may dump, but they're not going to dump 100% of what you apply. And the same thing kind of goes along too with methylene urea. If you've ever heard of methylene urea, basically it's a urea molecule that has these long carbon chains on it that are put there by formaldehyde. You react it with a formaldehyde derivative. And it releases the exact same way as an organic fertilizer. Microbes eat the carbon chains and they dump or excrete urea molecules, right? And so they eat the carbon, release the urea, eat the carbon, release the urea. And so you get the slow trickle out effect. Well, if you have high soil temperatures and wet soil, well, you've got rocking and rolling microbial activity. You can take dead soil that has been treated with methyl bromide and been solarized for 2 years, right? Get a little bit of grass growing in it, and in that summer where it's warm and it's wet, you will have no noticeable difference in microbial activity at that point than you would before you treated it with methyl bromide and solarization, because we're in a battle against nature. Nature always finds a way. And so that methylene urea will release the same way. And, it's warm, it's wet. Those microbes are going to be attacking it. It's going to be releasing like fire because it's got carbon. That's a food source for the microbes. They're going to be eating. They're going to be multiplying. And so, you're effectively dumping again. So you have to be careful, and it's a bit of a gamble, right? And again, like back to rolling the dice here, 4 out of 6 times you're good, you win, right? It's the 2 out of 6 times that you lose. What do you do then?
You lose
And
that.
you know,
You get kicked
what's
out the
your game
house.
plan for it?
That's what happens. You're sleeping on the couch for the next 4 months. That's what happens.
Yeah.
Life together. Yeah.
And,
No,
and
yeah,
I,
that
and
was.
I wanted to touch on that too because a lot of I'm not gonna say all, and then again I don't know a lot of them because I don't go there anymore looking for anything. But a lot of your store brand fertilizer are polymer coated fertilizers, and a lot of people will go to the store, you know, and then they'll get these fertilizers, and you know, slow release, feed your line all summer, and they'll put these things down, and it's 347 degrees outside.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden, boom, like you said, that heat is going to make that polymer coated release all at once. And then they're dealing with funguses. And then, you know, then that's when they're like, well, what's going on and what happened? And, you know, and a lot of people don't understand that at all. So I wanted you to kind of clarify that to them as well, because a lot of people still do go to, you know, Lowe's and Home Depot and get, you know, these fertilizers, but they really don't know which me and Cam got something working on that though. You know, we got something coming out. I ain't gonna spoil it, but they don't know what they're doing before they put some things down on their line.
And to take it one step further, not all polymer coatings are the same either. In you know, 90% of what you see in a polymer coated fertilizer in a big box store is going to be XCU, which is a Coke product, and that is the cheapest polymer fertilizer that you can buy as a formulator, right? And there's nothing inherently wrong with it. Well, it's either Duration 45 or XCU, and they're almost interchangeable. One has a little bit of sulfur coating as well, in addition to a polymer coating. The other one is just purely a polymer coat. Most people don't even differentiate between the two on the label, and they won't claim polymer coated, sulfur coated. They'll just call it polymer coated. So it's either XCU or Duration 45. They're almost an identical product. And here's the thing is that the release curve at 85F is charted at 45 days there, right? In reality, that is going to release probably about half of what it states on the bag, right? Mm-hmm. So now if we're releasing at 20, 25 days, we're not much better than just a straight urea at that point. You know, you're buying like maybe an additional 10 days of color. I referenced a study that came out, and this is from Travis Shaddix, and where they were testing release rates from these various products. And I'll have to dig through. I've got it noted somewhere. Here we go. I'll throw it into the YouTube chat here. So they were doing it from a cost-based perspective of, you know, are you actually getting what you're paying for? And what they came to find out is that for the most part, most of these lower-end, cheaper polymer-coated fertilizers perform no better than either ammonium sulfate or urea alone. So while they may feel good that they, you know, picked up a product that is a 30% polymer-coated fertilizer from a big box store and went and, you know, put down a pound of it because they're only get, you know, 0.6 of a pound that releases now and 0.4 of a pound that's going to release slowly. In actuality, it's not. It's all dumping, and they've got to pay the consequences for it. And they, you know, you're caught with your thumb up your ass then. So, yeah. In my opinion, if you're going to go with a slow release fertilizer, make sure it is at least a Duration 90 or a methylene urea, or an organic fertilizer. One of those three.
So that means, people, when you purchase a fertilizer, wherever you get it from, flip over the bag and look at the ingredients and see what it is. Flip over the bag and look at the ingredients. Everything that he's talking about in the ammonium sulfate and methylene and urea. Remember these things. flip over the bag and see what it is, so you will know exactly what you're putting down on your lawn, and don't just be going by the picture on your lawn. I'll make your grass green. Any fertilizer can make your grass green, but flip over the bag and see what you're actually putting down before you put that thing down. And I hope that you all understood that, because I get a lot of questions on it, and I'm glad that Matt clarified.
And I want to
Yeah,
piggyback.
Matt just dropped some knowledge there from a fertilization standpoint.
Yes, he did.
He just dropped a whole lot of. I hope y'all had your notepads, your handy dandy notebooks. I hope y'all had them for that one, because I mean there's a lot of talk of going slow release, organic, polymer coated, like all of those kind of things. And I'm over here in the chat having a conversation with To the Roots Lawn Care and his experience with like the hybrids, and he was mowing way more than he wanted to in July, and that is another methylated urea based type fertilizer. So it's just one of those things that as we learn more and we get more information, we try to bring that to you all, just like Matt did. Make sure you're digging into the information that's on the back of the bag and know what it is.
Hey, before we get out of here, man, I wanna piggyback on what you're saying, Cam and Polo. You're saying flip over the bag, and my man Terry Watts down here, apparently he saw on another YouTuber's channel saying that you could actually use chicken feed, Dumar chicken feed specifically, to feed your lawn. So I pulled it up here on the screen, 16% layer pellet poultry feed, and I went straight to the label. Now, the label says that it has crude protein, lysine, crude fat, crude fiber, ash, calcium, phosphorus, salt, sodium, different types of salt. I would say this. I'm not going to deny that maybe possibly you could put it on your lawn and see some type of visual response out of that. But the question I would ask you, at $15 for 10 pounds of this product, I just don't understand why you would do that. The product's not labeled for lawn care, it's labeled to feed chicken. Now, if your technique is to spread it across your lawn and then have your chicken eat it while pooping on your lawn to do this like recycling effect to feed it, maybe, but then I would still argue why. Label is law, read the back of the label. I'm not saying that he couldn't do it or you can't do it. I just don't understand why you would. And I'll kind of leave it there. If anybody wants to add something to that.
Can I chime in on it?
Yes, I want you to. Ain't no can.
So, if you look at chicken feed, I promise I have a lot of experience with the poultry space.
Nah, not you. Not you.
The chicken feed is very high in fat content because you got to remember when you're turning these birds into either food or egg layers, they need a lot of minerals, and those minerals as a feed indeed are good for the soil and the lawn. However, fats are not. Fats are notorious for repelling water. It's called hydrophobicity. And you think about blubber on a whale or something, right? You're repelling water because ultimately that's what they're using to retain their heat. So in effect, by continually applying this over time with repeated applications, you develop a lipid layer at the surface of the soil, which is hydrophobic, which is impeding the infiltration of water. And if you impede the infiltration of water, that means less water that gets to your root system and ultimately will create problems with not being able to keep the grass hydrated, which is a bad thing. So,
bad thing. Bad thing. I appreciate you, Matt.
Yeah, man.
I don't think you get enough credit out here, man.
That video was more credit than I deserve. So.
That video was hot.
That video was fire. Yeah, I mean, any parting words? And we've been running this question back and forth on the We Workin live streams, in the We Workin chat. We've been going by this down. Let me get your take on our motto. Our motto is 2 years. 2 years. A lot of times people think that, you like I've been describing it to, I mean, I'm sure you can relate to your health journey. I'm assuming you saw the most dramatic results within your first 30 to 60 days. Within your first 30 to 60 days on your health journey, I mean, it was just like night and day, right? You took a turn for the better, all fulling through. You felt better, you looked better, your attitude was better, your all of that was just better. And then at some point you hit a plateau. I would non-deniably, I know you did. I've been around doing this for 15 years plus. I know you hit a plateau. So we've been kind of using that analogy and correlating it with lawn care, getting into lawn, loving the lawn. And there came a time when I realized that people thought I had the lawn that I used to have, and they thought that I did that within the course of a year. I even had neighbors come up to me and say, "Hey, what are you applying on your lawn?" They wanted to know what I was using because they thought the key was Carbon Earth. They thought the key was 818. They thought the key was 2404, even though those things are the truth. And we'll pour out a little bit for those truth fertilizers. But needless to say, I realized that I was deceiving them and I wasn't even trying to do it. So I started telling people 2 years, and they would look at me awkwardly. Like, what are you talking about, 2 years? It's like, yeah, I did 2 years of this lawn. That's what I put on there. I put 2 years of hard work, dedication, a sound agronomy plan. I obeyed my cultural practices as much as possible, and I paid attention to my lawn. That's what I put on it. 2 years of hard work and dedication. I just want to know, would you agree with that philosophy? Would you back that up? Is that Matt Stamped approved for you?
I'm trying not to say bad words when I say yes. And that is exactly how I sold lawn care. Is I would tell them, 1 year from today, you're going to feel really confident about the work I'm doing on it. I'm going to feel really confident about it. And then year number 2, something catastrophic is going to happen where I feel really unconfident about it, and you're going to think I'm crazy. And then after we finish that second year and we get into year number 3, both of us will be happy and we'll have a different amount of respect for each other.
Yep.
100%. It takes 2 solid years to wrap your brain around the bullshit you have to put up with over that time period. So
there we go. Say the bad words. There we go. Ben said, "Say bad words, Matt. Say bad words."
Just get one. Just one. It was driving me crazy. I'm sweating.
Okay. Well, yeah, man. I don't have anything else for you, Matt. I appreciate you. I just appreciate what you do. When I first came into the YouTube DIY scene, I had huge successes with the basics. I made a lot of strides within that first 60 to 90 days, as anyone would, doing basic stuff. And then I hit a wall. I had issues and problems that were unique to my lawn. And I wasn't really finding the answers anywhere but back then, it was the lawn care hotline, help desk, whatever you call it. I'm not sure what it was, but I had plenty of questions, and I was trying to learn and regurgitate that Matt Martin lingo as much as possible. And I always paid it forward. I never made anybody think that, I was smarter than what I was. So I appreciate what you do. I appreciate that you took the time to hang and kick it with us this evening, to educate us with a little bit of entertainment. I appreciate it. And I appreciate you for being a wonderful host in Knoxville. Yeah, that's it. That's all I got.
Thank y'all for having me. Seriously, I enjoy this. Obviously, I enjoy it, and to come get to hang out, I mean, shit, it's GIE Part 2, and y'all know how much fun we had there.
Oh yeah.
Cam, I know you had fun.
I had a ball.
Nelly's after party at the hotel lobby. Yes, sir.
So yeah, like I'm gonna just piggyback off because I have been on the Grass Factor. We came in, I chopped it up with all of y'all, Ryan, DeMay, Ray, yourself, and it was amazing. And I can honestly say, prior to doing that, once I found the Grass Factor, if you haven't checked them out, Thirsty Thursdays, make sure you're checking it out. Burn and Return on Mondays, make sure you're checking it out. But I had issues with disease and fungus pressure. And I will say I developed a program taking some of the information that I got from y'all off of the Grass Factor, did a little additional research. And as I say, doing some additional research and figuring out how to apply it to my lawn, how to apply that in the scenario that I was dealing with. People, take the information. There's nothing wrong with getting the information and learning it, but make sure it fits your application and what your lawn needs. So, Matt, I just want to say thank you. I appreciate you for
Thank
putting
you.
out the information that you do, digging into it, and then making sure that we get a little bad words and some jokes along the way as we go. And I appreciate it, man. I appreciate everything y'all do over there.
Thank you.
And I wanted to say really quick too to basically kind of piggyback off of Cam. Getting that information, getting the soil test is imperative. A lot of people, I mean, there's nothing wrong with them, but a lot of people will come out with what we call lawn plans for you to be able to follow this, follow this guide, follow that guide. And there's nothing wrong with it, but understanding that everyone's lawn is different. And everyone knows the saying, the Mike Tyson saying, that everybody got a plan until you get hit in the mouth.
Get pushed in the
So
mouth.
if you are following someone else's plan and you end up putting down too much or this or that or whatever, and it doesn't work for you, then you're automatically thinking, "Wow, man, their plan is this, their plan is that." No, what you should have been doing is you should have pulled a soil test. You should have took your lawn to the doctor, and then you should have found out what was deficient in your lawn, and then you should have worked that way. You can develop your own plan. There's nothing wrong with other people's plans at all. There's nothing wrong with having a guideline. But like Matt set up and said, Mother Nature always wins. About my prime example is one of the lawns that I renovated on one of my videos, where I got a series of them. I renovated the lawn. Everything came in, tall fescue. Everything was great. Temperature was cooling down. Then all of a sudden, we get hit with over a week of high temperatures. I mean, it just like sparked out of nowhere. And we were getting hit with consistent rain. So what ended up getting hit in that lawn? Pythium. Now, if I would have just kind of like walked away, oh yeah, that grass is good and green, and patted myself on the back and then just left it alone, if I wouldn't have came back to that lawn, or if I'm the homeowner, and if I wouldn't have came outside and constantly look at your lawn, because every time you do a new lawn, you plant new grass seed, you look at your grass is green, it's beautiful, you're all happy, your neighbors are patting you on the back, hey, what did you do, this, that, and this, you're on cloud nine. But if I wouldn't have came back and seen that Pythium, we all know how quick Pythium moves. So
I've been there. I've been there.
Exactly.
That Pythium had Cam about to quit YouTube, man. He was about to.
Hell, I never would have started.
Exactly. That Pythium is no joke. And as far as to take care of it, what you have to buy is no joke too, as far as the price. But it's just that there's nothing wrong with having a plan. There's nothing wrong with having some guidelines. There's nothing wrong with getting advice from different YouTubers and things and stuff like that. But you need to access for your own self. Okay, this is what my lawn needs. This is what I need to do. Let me try this year. Let me see how things work. Go around to year 2, what we just been preaching. Give it 2 years. Do what you need to do, and then just see how your lawn will react as far as what you're putting down or what you're not putting down. So that's just my 2 cents on it, and I hope that people will just take that advice and then just apply that advice into your lawn for 2022. So.
Hey, Kevin Wall, that is hilarious.
Take his shirt off, Hey.
Hey, I had a successful season, boy. It's about to be shirt off season next year
Hey.
in the YouTube videos.
What's really funny about that, Kevin, is during the summer and spring and early fall, Cam is in the We Workin chat, shirt off all the time. He walking around with his shirt. If Cam got his shirt on, I know something's wrong in the lawn, and I ain't seen him with a shirt on all season. And I just got done telling Polo the other day, I was like, Cam showed his lawn before he got these cold snaps last week. And I'm gonna be honest with you, man. Cam had the crown at the end. He had the crown. There ain't no hashtag turf cheated on that one. He had the crown. I done seen it. Look, I saw that lawn up close and personal, although I didn't get a chance to go to Polo Fields Estates. I'm just telling you, Cam had it. Cam had the whole crown. Too bad we didn't run that stripe contest in the fall, because Cam would have won fair and square. And I wouldn't sore loser like them. Like that. We ain't sore losing. You know, that's all I'm saying. But wait till I put this heat rock on you over here in Europe. You about to see how things work.
Turf,
Just give me 2 years. Just give me
Turf.
2 years.
Turf, you almost got muted. You almost got muted, Turf. You almost got muted. You almost got muted. Remember.
Hashtag team
I'm
elevated.
gonna
Hashtag
say.
team elevated.
But I am gonna say, like, after y'all seen the little clip at the end of my GIE video when I cut Polo's test plot, that just looks good. It is all around. Polo's lawn is A1. It is as green in person as it is on any Instagram post, YouTube videos, anything. And we pulled up some of the little pillars so I could make sure that I gave them a crisp edge and everything else. And the color of that soil and the texture of that soil, I don't know if y'all picked it up in that video, but man, the quality of soil that Polo got over there.
Yeah, I was about to say that, Cam. Polo's
Yeah,
about to show you why he stayed money green all year when he shows you this
Yeah.
daggone soil sample. When he
Yep.
shows
Yeah.
you this soil test,
Yeah.
before I imagine he's gonna give it to us during the winter, man. Look, when you see his soil test, you're gonna be like, man, that ain't even fair. It's
It
not
ain't
even
fair. It
not
ain't
even
fair. Like, he ain't even got to do nothing. Like, yo, just
He ain't gotta do
keep-
nothing
Hey, put some water on it and be good.
and be good. Polo ain't gotta apply nothing, and his thing is loaded. It's floating. Well, you know what? If you don't mind, Polo, I'm going to give people a sneak peek of what's coming next week, Friday. Is that cool?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. All right. Well, and then we got. Well, I'm gonna start with. Well, PJ, tell the people what you got coming next week. How about that? Let's start with that. next week, right?
Oh,
Next week, Sunday?
next Sunday.
Yeah.
Just another, not just, but I have another LOL, Ladies of Lawn Care live next Sunday.
And can you break that down for the people that don't know what that is and what you're trying
Yeah,
to do over
so
there?
yeah, the goal is just, there's so many female lawn care enthusiasts out there and, people in the green industry, and all the show is just introducing them to you guys and breaking it down, to kind of show you that we're out here. I'm out here obviously, but I want to highlight some other people as well. And like I keep saying, it's a movement, and that movement is just to say, hey, we're here. And, that's it. Nothing major.
Yeah, I think what Polo's doing. My bad. What PJ's doing over there is amazing. Heading that up, running that, being the trailblazer. There's been no one like her, as far as I've seen on YouTube, that looks like her, that's doing what she's doing and making sure that the women's voice of lawn care is being heard. Now, you got the Spencers out there with what's her name, Queen. She's nasty with the trimmer. Of course, I can't think of her name on the spot right now. Y'all know who I'm talking about. But they got her nickname. She with the edger. She does all their string trimming. The Spencer family. But there are females out there. But when it comes to the DIY community, there's no one like PJ. She's doing it, and you need to go support it. You need to go support it. Help them out. help them get their word out, help them spread their awareness. I think that's super important. I think it's super important that we share that space equivocally across the board, and take away the misnomer that this is just a man's type game, because it's absolutely not. It's absolutely not. These women, these mothers, these sisters, these daughters are just as powerful and important as the men out there. And then for the people that have hung along this long, 45 people in the room, we got, well, I won't say we, I have, because, this guy has influenced me. And if you know me, and if you were hanging out with me in Knoxville, I couldn't keep his name out of my mouth. But Friday next week, we have Ryan Knorr on Turf Therapy. So if you, yeah. So we have Ryan Knorr on Turf Therapy. The We Working team will be there in support as far as, in the chat, but it's going to be me and him on the stage, and it's going to be a whole bunch of ego stroking, highlighting, and he's just such a cool guy to hang with. Yes. So I just want to unpack some things, because he is living. Well, let me preface with this first. Enjoy the moment in the chapter in the season that you are in all the time in your life. I still love serving my country. But when I watch what Ryan is doing out there with his 40 acres and where he has started and where he has come to, and where I know what the end game looks like for me, it couldn't be more inspirational. So that's your little sneak peek. Ryan Knorr will be on Turf Therapy next Friday. I think 6 p.m. Eastern, either 6 p.m. Eastern or 7 p.m. Eastern. I'll be making posts about it somewhere in midweek. You know me, I don't do too many posts ahead of time. Just pay attention, turn the notification bell on. But it should be a really good time. And that's all I got. Thank you for Polo for letting me, get that little shameless plug out there. And then that's it. That's all I got. Matt, you got anything you want to say to the people, brother, before we roll out?
No, I want to say, PJ. So, I call turf management in going through it in school a fraternity of sorts. Because at the time when I was going through it, there was definitely no female interest in it at all. And I mean, it was like if you wanted to avoid women, that was like the major you could go to, and you never had to encounter them at all, ever. And but it's funny how much that's changed over the last 10 years. It's completely different landscape, and I want to express how beneficial that is to the industry, because it brings brand new, fresh perspectives that are not recycled, regurgitated perspectives over and over and over and over, because it's been a boys' club up to this point, right? And now even when you look at the PhD space in turfgrass management, it's totally different, right? And there's so many women that have gotten into it, and even now women superintendents on golf side and on the sports turf side that hey, keep doing what you're doing and shake shit up. It needs to be shook up.
Shake shit up, man.
That's right.
Yeah.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you.
I agree with you, Matt. 100%.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Yes, it does.
Polo,
Good
what
deal.
you got for a wonderful host you have been?
Hey,
Yes, sir, you have been.
I don't have anything else. If you all have anything else, y'all got anything? Turf, I know you done. PJ,
How many roses you got left?
How many what?
How many roses you got left?
You got a dozen.
Roses,
You still dealing with a dozen?
You started with 4. Where are you at now?
You started with 4. You started with 4 roses. How many you got? You might got what? About two
The
left.
roses got pruned when before the weather got cold. Hey, I don't know. Let me check real quick.
Now you know why he's been disappearing.
That is
It's still there.
All right,
It's still
now
there.
we down to 1 rose.
One roll left. That's a little inside thing. That's a little inside thing.
That was
as
funny.
Matt calls it, that was real inside baseball. That was real.
That was
inside
real. That's
baseball.
some real inside baseball right there. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Hey, so hey man, I thank everyone for showing up. For the ones that did stay this long, God bless you all, man. Bless every last one of you all. And for the ones that had to leave, thank you for showing up. Matt, my brother, we thank you for joining us on the We Workin live stream. Thank you for taking time out from your family, from your kids, and just whatever you want to do, just sitting back and just relaxing. Before I go, did Tennessee play today? They play today?
Basketball. I know you're not talking about the SEC championship, so
You know,
it was basketball.
no, we
We
ain't,
won.
we ain't talking about.
We
that.
beat Colorado. Don't worry.
Just wanted to check. Just want to do my little sports roll call. Just wanted to check. You know, I'm a big sports guy. So I just wanted to check. But we thank everyone for tuning in, for staying this long. Thank you all for coming by. We appreciate your time greatly. We hope that you all were blessed with this live stream. Hope you all got some knowledge. Hey, run this thing back, watch it again, and watch it again, because it was a whole bunch of knowledge bombs dropped in this live stream. Thank you all for tuning in. PJ, let's go ahead and start it off, baby.
One thing's for sure.
Two things for certain.
Just know.
We working.
Thank y'all for tuning in, baby. Peace.
We out of here, people.
We'll see y'all.